Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is July 16th, 2024. It is broadcast 1094. Thank you, Penny. And it is day 284 since October 7th. It is still the week of learning, the week of goodness that has been created by families of hostages, and we are going to be learning in their merit. Every year, for every weekday for the last 4.5 years, we have found each other, learning together, saying good morning to each other. It's been a gift to see all of you, Arlene and Ron, Susie, Debbie, Arlene, and Amy. It's good to see all of you. I hope that you're well. Fabrice, sending love to Paris. Hope you're feeling better. Lisa, it's good to see you. Let's see who else is here so we can start the day saying good morning to each other and then learning some Torah. Anya and Barry, Penny, good to see you on both screens. That's pretty impressive. Barbara, I hope that you're well. Peter, sending love. Barbara and Siona, Linda, and Julie Ann, sending love all around. I hope that you and yours are safe and well. Shush, it's good to see you too. Hi, Natalie. Let's take a breath. We're going to sing a bracha in a moment so we can learn some Torah. Adele, it's good to see you. Stan, sending love to White Plains. Debbie, Deborah, good to see you. All right. Hi, Howard. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Judy. Minna and Amy, it's good to see you. Hi, Marcia. Asok b'divrei Torah, asok b'divrei Torah, hafok b'hafok asok b'divrei Torah, v'yala v'yala, v'yala v'yala. Friends, for those who are having trouble seeing from the on the Facebook page, I don't know what to say except that I see you and all of your comments, and if you can hear me, then we can find each other audio today. I know that it is, for some, it's okay on the UJA page. I encourage you to go there. And I'm also glad to see everybody on Instagram. One way or another, we are together. We have found each other for 4.5 years. We can find each other with our ears as much as our eyes. So it's good to see all of you. Masiek, sending love to Poland. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a long time. I hope that you're doing okay. All right, let's learn some Torah, and this is so that we all remember our ritual every weekday morning. It is also this week, intentionally, we are connecting our learning with a week of goodness that has been created by families of hostages. All week long, we are learning together and doing good in the world for the merit of the release of the hostages. Um, Today is the 284th day that they have not been with us, and they are very much with us. So let's learn some Torah with real intention. Hi, Fabrice. Good to see you here on the Instagram feed. Okay. In this week's Torah portion, Balak, there is a lot that goes on, including a prophet who's not Israelite, Bil'am, who is hired by a foreign king whose name is Balak. So the Torah portion's name is Balak, and he um, he hires this mercenary prophet Bilam. And even though I think we've been conditioned, if you've learned in Jewish educational settings, to believe that Bilam was a charlatan, there was nothing real about the magic or the sorcery that he was able to wield, the Torah takes him very seriously. This is a real threat. That Bilam is able to connect with God, as the Torah text says, through prophecy at night, is extraordinary. And among the things that we need to understand about this text is that Bilam is a very serious figure, so much so that the Mishnah discusses him uh, in an extended way, saying that he is one of the few people, Jewish or not, that will not have a place in the world to come. Now, you might know this, but it is important to know that among the things that he does as a prophet, when he is overlooking the Israelites, Bnei Israel, ostensibly to curse us as he's been hired, he says a bunch of things, including Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov. He looks at the way our camp is arranged and says, "How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob," which becomes part of our liturgy. Many Jews traditionally say these words when we walk into a Beit Knesset, when we walk into a synagogue. And so, how powerful it is that noticing our beauty is what he can't help but say. Tradition later suggests that God puts words into Bilam's mouth no matter what he intended. But that intention is a good question for us to think about. What was his intent? Even though he was hired to curse, it all sounds like blessing. But in the Talmud, it actually suggests that all of the things he said, turned into curses. No matter whether or not they sounded like blessings, they turned into curses. Listen, for instance, here. This is in Bamidbar Chav Gimel, Numbers 23. A shout out to my Ima and to our friends Suri and Ed. Nice to see you all. Glad to learn Torah together. Among the things that Bilam says, so this is Parak again, 23, verses 8, 9, and 10. How can I, in Hebrew, ma'akov lo kabo el, uma is lo za'am Adonai. How can I damn whom God has not damned? How can I doom when God has not doomed? And then it continues. As I see them from the mountaintops, Kimirosh Tsurim Erenu, Umikvaot Ashurenu, gaze on them from the heights. Hen Am Levado Yishkon. This is a people that dwells apart. Uvagoyim Lo Yitchashav, not reckoned among the nations. Now, this is a complicated verse. Even though you might think of it as a blessing, it sure has a tinge of curse. When Israel is described as alone, not reckoned among the nations, both in our ancient format as a people and now as a people with a regained homeland, how powerful and complicated it is to be told that we sit alone, because too often it feels that way. And not reckoned among the nations, the very goal in the Megillat Ha'atzmaut and the Declaration of Independence in Israel, and in the way that Zionism has aspired to be seen, the Jews as a self-determining people in the community of nations. What a strange verse it is. Uvagoyim lo yitchashav, not considered among the nations. Well, that too feels true all too often. So what do we do with these intense words? So we turn to tradition, as we often do. It is a fascinating thing to look at the way the verses have been understood through time. What does it mean? What does it mean? Hein am levado yishkon. Let's look to Rashi for a second. Hein am levado yishkon. The people shall dwell alone. This is what Rashi says. That is what their ancestors have given them as a prerogative. That's what we've been bequeathed. To dwell on the word alone, as in the sense given to the passage, which is, this people alone is destined for good. Now, that's also not great. Yes, we want our fate to be a good one, a positive one in the world, and maybe that makes us unique. We are, after all, the only ancient tribe that has continued to exist for these thousands of years. But to be alone in receiving goodness, that's not the best of what we want for the world. In fact, our calling through Avram and Sarah in their first calling from God was to be a blessing for others. V'heyeh bracha. Through us, blessing is supposed to reach the world. And so it is an important thing to also read this verse in its historic context. So first, let's read the verse one more time. I'm going to read it out loud. Ki meirosh tzurim erenu. I see them from the mountaintops. Umigvaot ashurenu. See them from the heights. This is a doubling of poetic language. It's actually quite striking. Hein am levado yishkon. They are a people that dwells alone. Uvagoyim lo yitchashav. And not reckoned among the nations. This is a very, very powerful verse. And in fact, Rashi has this to say too. When other nations go wrong, we will not be considered with them. And that is also very complicated. The goal is to be a people who lives with people, to live peacefully with people. Our goal is not war. We will wage it when we must, but we do not like it. We don't want to fight. That was said within the founders of the Hester movement by Rav Aaron Lichtenstein. He actually said that while it is an ethical and moral command to defend ourselves from the Torah and on, a posture forced upon us carrying weapons, we would put them down if we could. But we know that putting them down now is certainly a way of ensuring that we do not survive. It is really important to hear words like Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, whose comment on this parsha really stays with me. He says, when therefore Jews fight for the right to be, whether as a nation in its historic home or as a religious group in other societies, they fight not for themselves alone, but for human freedom as a whole. Rabbi Sachs writes, it was the Catholic writer Paul Johnson who wrote that Jews are exemplars and epitomizers of the human condition. They seem to present all the inescapable dilemmas of man in a heightened and clarified form. It seems to be the role of the Jews to focus and dramatize these common experiences of mankind and to turn their particular fate into a universal moral. Listen to those words. It's not that we should be alone, but as a people, we have carried ourselves ultimately as a mirror for all of humanity. What besets the Jews, the troubles we face, ultimately is a demonstration of what the world is going through. Which means if you feel worried, the world feels worried. And if you feel good, maybe the world has a glimmer of hope too. Which means that we need to channel within ourselves the language of Bil'am, and forget the intent, actually. The Gemara is convinced that he didn't mean well, and it was only God who intervened. This language doesn't sound so positive. You are a people that will dwell alone. And all too often, it does sound like a curse. But it is also true that we alone have endured throughout these thousands and thousands of years. And considered the canary in the coal mine, anti-Semitism is usually a harbinger for things that will hit every other group. So the question is, how do we hold ourselves right now? How do we love our people with power and with passion? How do we demonstrate with our fervent prayers for the hostages that they come home what it is to love a family? This is what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to see ourselves as mirrors for the world and not self-isolate worse than we already have been isolated by others. We have to see ourselves as interconnected because only through that will we be okay, and only through us being okay will others be okay. While this is a time for tribal concern, and I will not minimize that, it is also a place for understanding that if we are suffering, we are likely not the only ones. Listen to how Rabbi Sachs concludes his comment, and with this we'll close for today. As we prepare ourselves for the next battle in the long fight for freedom, it is vitally important not to believe in advance that we are destined to be alone, to find ourselves without friends and allies, confronting a world that neither understands us nor is willing to grant us a place to live our faith, and shape our future in loyalty to our past. If we are convinced we will fail, we probably will. That is why the rabbis were right to suggest that Bilam's words were not necessarily well meant. And if that is true, friends, what Rabbi Sachs writes toward the end of that, if we are convinced we will fail, we probably will, let's make the decision that we won't. Let's be present and fierce in our determination to succeed, to bring our family home, to win the war so that we don't have to fight a war. Not to win the war so that we can beat our chests with some mighty self-indulgent notion of triumphal whatever. That's not the goal. The goal is to be a blessing. When we say we will not fail, we are also saying Am Yisrael Chai. Our goal is to live. Our goal is to love. Our goal is to be a blessing. No matter what prophets like Bilam have ever intended, and no matter what the world does when it comes to reckoning our place in the community of nations, we know who we are. We know who we are. We are a people that wears our people on our hearts. We are a people that prays. We are a people that aches to love. We will fight when we must, and we will not lose. But our goal is not to beat anyone. Our goal is to be. When we say Am Yisrael Chai, that is our most fervent prayer. What is this week of goodness created by the families of the hostages but the best demonstration of who we are in our hearts? We will learn, we will sing, we will pray, we will create new Torahs. We will bring our people together, and that is for the merit of the release of the hostages. That's how we show our best selves, the world we envision, the family we are. So, let's sing our own prayers. Let's talk about the blessing we want to be in the world. Let's leave Bilam behind and decide that we don't have to be alone, that we want to succeed and bring the whole world with us. We have that power. That's who we're supposed to be. Be a blessing. So, friends, I know that when I hold these powerful words that I've been wearing since 2 weeks after October 7th, when I was handed them in Jerusalem, starting to get a little bit rusty. These words are about our heart. Halev shelanu shavui ba'aza. Our hearts are still captive in Gaza, and the English is bring them home now. I don't clench this with hate. I clench this with fierce love. May our family come home. May we fight as long as we must, with all the power that we have to use. But may we not be seduced by power itself. May we see peace as our goal even now. Love as our goal even now. A whole family, a healing family, our family, and all families. Let's send our hearts east, friends. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. O lo avda tikvatenu, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends.